Good evening. Yes, it's that time again. It's GunSlingerz, and today we're going to be discussing with a great panel. Saka, Smith, Rowe, set for Super-Stardom? Let's discuss this. Yes, evening all. Oh my gosh, what a lineup we have for you today. Oh my God, blessed today. Was discussing Saka and Smith Rowe and whether or not they're set for Super-Stardom, or should we just kind of temper things down? But listen, let me introduce these guys. Now I'm going to start off GTalksArsenal. Bro, how you doing, sir?
You know what? I'm good, I'm good. Yeah, just kind of life, maintaining, working, juggling family commitments and so forth. But yeah, no, I'm good. I have to be honest, I'm missing the Arsenal. I was saying to you before some of the other guys jumped on that I find myself watching sports that I have no real interest in because I'm just trying to pass the time.
Yeah, it's hard.
I'm all good, man. I'm all good. How about yourself?
It's hard work. Jake, how you doing, bro? What's happening, man? It's good to have you on there, man.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. I think Fox has been asking me for quite a while to come on, and I finally found the time to get on the show, speak football with you guys. And as G said, I think it's been too long. It's only 2 weeks, but 2 weeks too long, in my opinion, with no Arsenal. So it's nice to come on with you guys and start talking about, the future of Arsenal, Saka and Smith Rowe.
100%. And the thing is as well, it's just that little bit harder because we have to wait till Monday for our game. So it's going to be, so it's just that little bit longer. We're getting there. AlbertJTV, bruh, it's good to have you, man. What's happening, man?
Nah, it's good. Thanks for having me on, man. You know what? I'm different to the other guys. When we have an international break from Arsenal, I'm happy. I can recharge. I'm being serious, man. The break's always good, man. But I must give a shout out to David Brooks, man. Wish you speedy recovery, man. That was a massive diagnosis today. Like, wow. 24, yeah. So, hope you get speedy recovery to him, man. Seriously.
Yeah, no, 100%. And do you know what? No, that for me, that's breaking. I didn't even. Well, please give me a little bit more insight into that. I honestly didn't even know. I've just been like away from any social media and internet today. So
yeah, it probably broke about 4 or 5 hours ago now. Stage 2 Hodgkinson lymphoma. So it's like wow, 24. Yeah. So hopefully they've got it quite early. So hopefully he'll kind of have a speedy recovery. But
fingers crossed and everything. Prayers to him and the family, man. So yeah, let's hope he pulls through, man. That's way too young to be having those kind of illnesses there. No, bless for that. GunnersLecks, it's good to see you back, bro. What's been happening, man? How you been? You been busy?
Yeah, I'm all good. As I said, thanks for having me on again. It's been a few weeks since the last time I first came on. Internationals, I just feel like I'm just chill mode, like hibernation mode. You know what I mean?
Arsenal will snap that out of you soon. I mean, come on.
It will just wake me up.
They'll wake you up, man. They'll wake you up, no doubt. And our staple, our foundation, Gunner King. What's happening, bro? What's good, man? I know a lot's been going on with you, man. What's been happening? You good?
Yeah, all good, man. All good. Just counting down these days, man. Like this international breaks. Just
been killing anyone on TikTok yet lately? What's been going on? I know
you're still growing on there, man. Still growing, started a new job, looking for a new housemate. It's all happening at the moment, man. Yeah,
love that. That's life, man. That's life. But guys, listen, let's just dive straight into this, right? So obviously the performances of Saka and Emile Smith Rowe, since obviously we could say really Saka probably a little bit before, but right about now is when ESR started coming in basically a year ago last year. So as a fan base, are we the worst really for kind of like bigging up these kind of players? Should we just kind of temper that down, or just kind of settle, just let them do their thing? Because there's been so many players in the past that we can name. I don't know, from your David Bentley, when he first come out, everyone thought, oh yeah, he's gonna be like, he'll take over from Bergkamp. Then you had your, I don't know, from Carlos Vela. Yeah, he's made a good career and stuff, but he was supposed to be like, for us, another superstar in the making. And then Wilshere, does he fall into that bracket as one who's failed? And did we actually big him up too much? And the poor kid, look what's happened. But I want you to start off with yourself, King. Saka, Smith Rowe, yes, they're putting out some serious numbers for their age. But are we kind of like, do we need to kind of like just settle for a bit and just let them do their thing? Or are we right to actually big them up because they're our own? And you know what? Shout it from the rooftops. Oh, King's frozen boy.
Like doing a mannequin challenge.
He's
back. King, I'm not sure how much of that you got, but talk to us about Saka and Smith Rowe. Should we kind of like temper, or should we kind of actually shout it from the rooftops? They're our own. We've got two superstars in the making, right?
I think I'm in like both camps to a degree. I think with any young player, you can overhype them, and then you're over-promising what they're going to deliver on, and any sort of deviance, any sort of mistake that they make becomes a meme quite quickly. And I think that's not good for players, particularly in this age. I think if you look at the difference in this age relative to when we were, say, growing up, you didn't have social media where, mistakes are quickly made a big thing of, you can't really, there's nowhere really for you to hide. And the reality is young players are going to make mistakes. They are going to have the odd underwhelming performance. They are going to do that. This is just the reality of young players' development. So I think as much for their sake as well as our own, we should try and stay a little grounded with exactly what we say about them and how we project their like standards to other fan bases and the rest of the world. I just think it's best for everyone involved. That is not to say that I don't think that they've got all the ingredients to go to the top of the game, because they do. My thoughts on both of them, particularly ESR, who is a personal favorite of mine.
Yeah.
But I just think, I look at the likes of, not just our youngsters, like it's everyone that does it. United with Greenwood, Liverpool with Curtis Jones and Harvey.
But I'm just thinking, for us though, there's been so many names in the past that have been dropped, in the sense that there's, that they're going to be the, this kid's coming through, he's going to be this and he's going to be that. And it's the same thing, don't you think, that happened with Balogun before he signed his contract? Everyone was saying, oh, this guy, we've got this guy, and, we can't let him leave, blah, 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 blah. And then the same fan base, well, some, but then after Brentford, writing them off.
It's just, that's it. You put so much pressure to perform on the shoulders of these young men. They shouldn't have that. Saka shouldn't be stepping up to take penalties for England when he's 19. He did, he shouldn't be putting his club on his back at 19 and carrying it. The reality is, at the moment, him and Smith Rowe are very much doing that, and it's good to see. But we can burden them with more pressure by saying things that, I hear people saying, like, on my TikTok earlier, like people are like, he's clear of Mount, he's clear of this guy, he's clear of that guy. And it's like, these guys have had a handful of appearances relative to the likes of Mount, the likes of, sort of your whoever, it's just, I just find we need to be careful. Yeah. If for the sake of their development, not for saving face sake, I'm not bothered about that. I want to be saying my youngsters are the best in the world, but at the same time, I don't want them to walk out onto the pitch and feel the weight of that pressure and buckle under it.
Do you think, I mean, I know you mentioned about yesteryear they didn't have social media, etc., etc. You know, we had the likes of Rowe, Thomas, all those players coming through. I mean, do you think that kind of aided those kind of players to kind of like just do their thing? And obviously football wasn't every other day as it is today. Did it allow those guys basically to get, you know, do their thing, cut their cloth, you know, play, make mistakes, and they're not as highlighted or memed as the players, you know, could be today? But with Saka and Smith Rowe, though, I'm kind of thinking, I don't think these guys are going to. The only thing I'm just cross my fingers is injuries, because what do you think their ceilings are? I mean, what, you know, I personally feel that they can actually go the way. I mean, already Saka, yeah, you know, he's taking penalties for England. The thing is, my view is, if they're old, if they're good enough, they're old enough. That's my view. Gee, I mean, would you agree? I don't know. I mean, how do you feel about all of that? I mean, in the sense that them being in the spotlight at such a young age and doing what they're doing.
Yeah, so for me, I think first and foremost, I think it's important that, I think people tend to use the word hype, but I feel as though me as an Arsenal fan, I'm quite measured. So I kind of look at it more as support rather than hype when I look at the youngsters. So I think first and foremost, I think it's important that we give credit where credit's due.
Yeah.
And I think that these two players in particular are very much deserving of the credit that's come their way. In terms of the impact that both Saka and Smith Rowe have had, you know, particularly on this current Arsenal side, and obviously some of the, you know, the impact that Saka's had, you know, even as young as he is on the international stage. But I do agree with, you know, Gunner King in that the expectations have to be measured. You know, we have to be realistic and we have to be careful to not put too much pressure. And that's where my criticism of the current Arsenal side and some of the current Arsenal players comes into play, because I feel as though, yes, there's a lot of pressure from fans kind of overhyping them, you know, kind of expecting too much. But I think a lot of that comes from the fact that some of our more senior players are not necessarily performing to their full ability or to their full potential. So we're looking to Saka and Smith Rowe to win us games, to turn around games, to start games that they wouldn't necessarily should be at this stage having to win or having to turn around or even having to start. So at the moment, they're thriving under that pressure. But we can't forget that at any point in time, their career could crumble. You know, it could become too much. And, you know, you've said some of the names already where this has happened in the past. So, and obviously injuries play a major part. You know, a player can be so good for so long and then a series of bad injuries, and all of a sudden, you know, the career that we thought they would go on to have, you know, doesn't quite come to fruition. But on the other hand, I think it's our job, you know, to support and hype them up, because
100%. That's
you know what I mean. It's like Gunner King was saying, you know, like yourself was saying, you know, United got Greenwood, Chelsea got Mount, City got Foden. So as far as I'm concerned, you know, those fans are not going to hype up our boys. So, you know, we've got to support and we've got to hype up our boys. Do you know what I mean? I think it's important when they do good, we got to hype them up. My only concern is kind of echoing what Gunner King said. The problem is when things don't particularly go well. Now, me as an Arsenal fan, where I say that I'm measured, I will kind of take stock of a mistake or take stock of something that they might not have done accordingly if they've missed a glaring chance. And I will put into context their age, in context, you know, how long they've been in the first team. And I will stay off the socials. Even if I'm mad as hell, I wouldn't necessarily put up a status about one of those kids, because I'm just thinking to myself, they're already going above and beyond in this current Arsenal team. So for me, they're still learning. So they're going to make mistakes. And I've said this, you know, on previous podcasts, whatever you call it, where we have to be prepared that these youngsters are going to make mistakes. It's just that sections of the fan base are very fickle. They're very reactionary. And so while they'll hype them up, you know, from here to God knows where when they're doing well, equally when they don't do well, they just you know, absolutely destroy these lads.
Yeah.
I think you've also got to take into account that they're English, And we live in, in a society where the English media are just crazy. So it's like, they literally go above and beyond to kind of like either make these players or break these players. And there's a real thin line between the way they kind of report, the way they kind of, the articles they write, etc., etc. So I think it's a difficult one. I'm a bit on the fence in that, I think it's important that we support them. I think it's important that we hype them up to a certain extent, but we also have to have in our mind that they are still kids and they're still young players. Their game is developing. And I think we need to be there more so when they make the mistakes than when they're doing well. That's just my take.
No, that's, I have to say, perfectly said, man, because at the end of the day, it is about, protecting them. And I guess, Jake, I would come to that in the sense that then would that part, I don't know, last year, I remember seeing memes of Saka carrying, it was a baby, wasn't it? And it had like a big person or a proper adult on his shoulders. I don't know if everyone saw that meme, basically, and everyone said that was Saka carrying Arsenal and everything. No, the thing is that then a failing basically of us as a club, in the sense that the players like your Fabregases came through, your Van Persies came through. I know we bought Van Persie, but we got him really young. Those players were kind of aided and abetted with, your Vieiras and those kind of players, to bring through. Who do these players look up to in order to kind of progress, or to be looked after, or to be kind of like, how would I say, given the break? Because I'm sure Saka got burnt out last year. I mean, it's just a thought with that. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, to be fair, for both players, really, I think they thrive under the pressure. When you look at some of the players that you previously mentioned, like your Vellas, your Bentleys, for example, they were given opportunities in the old EFL Cup. They weren't taken as opportunities. ESR came into the side last year against Chelsea. He took the opportunity by the scruff of the neck and he ran with it. They seem to thrive under the pressure. That's just my personal opinion. If you look at Saka, for example, he came into the England squad during the Euros as a squad player and he finished the tournament as a starter, and he sees that as an opportunity. And yes, he started the season with a little bit of fatigue, but he's slowly starting to get back into his rhythm, and Arsenal are over-relying on the two boys. But I just see them as two youngsters that have got that Arsenal DNA. Yes, some of the Arsenal fan base are reactionary, but in some senses, I don't feel like they can put a foot wrong. Even when they do make mistakes, people kind of look past it. And they've got people around them. Lacazette seems to be someone that's often mentioned as a bit of a mentor in the squad. I don't really hear too much about, former legends or players of the club that, Saka and ESR can look up to. But yeah, I just get the feeling that they completely thrive under the pressure and opportunity. Someone like ESR could have crumbled when Odegaard came back to the club. Yeah. Someone, at a similar age, in a similar position, Arteta's moved him out to the left, somewhere that Pepe finished the season really, really strong last year, and he's managed to displace him. And Arteta's now found a system where we can play all of those players. So for me, it's only a good thing. It's just managing those careers. We only have to look at someone like Jack Wilshere, who started at Arsenal at a really, really young age. And because of game time, for example, like you said, Saka got a bit of fatigue last season. We've got to make sure that we manage his game time properly. He's an international now at 20. So, and the schedule's thick and fast. 3 weeks, 4 weeks from now, there's more international games. Where's Saka going to get that break? ESR's knocking on the door as well. Man of the match performance and a goal the other night for the under-21. So, yeah, there's a lot to look forward to, but it has to be managed in the right way.
It's got to be managed and tempered. No, 100%. I mean, we just got this here from Shane Curtin. I'm gonna put this to you, Albert. If Saka came on the scene a year earlier, we wouldn't have spent 75 mil on Pepe. ESR is better now than Grealish was at his age. Debatable. A future £100 million players. I mean, although I love hearing and reading this stuff, this to me sometimes in a kind of like, I'm then have to draw back and think to myself, okay, is this us going a bit too far here with the players that we got? Should we actually be bigging up this way? Albert, I mean, I don't know if you want to respond to that, or actually, any thoughts on on the previous discussions there?
Yeah, firstly, big up Shane, man. He's a regular viewer to my channel, so big up for him coming into the chat. But
Big up Shane.
it'd be interesting if Saka and ESR weren't English, how they'd be viewed by some of the English fans. It'd be a very, very different topic of conversation. G mentioned about them. I would say in terms of being a victim of English, when English players come from, they're young, they're overhyped, they're overpriced. They're not all overhyped, overpriced. Let's be honest. There are some really, really good, decent talents out there. It's not their fault if you have to pay over the odds for them. But that's what I'd say about that. In regards to Saka, firstly, I've said it for quite a while. You boys might agree or disagree. I think I don't think he gets enough respect generally, to be honest, through rival fans in the league, how good he is. And I think a lot of them, it took for them to watch the Euros to realize how good he was. I'm like, are you guys blind? Like, what? We're not just Arsenal fans being biased. He has end product. So what is it you wasn't seeing in the season? I think that's what I can do in terms of, yes, I love Arsenal, love my club, but I can take a back seat and admire a player for being a decent player, regardless of whatever club he plays for. You can make that separation. People just choose not to do it. So with Saka, it's if it's down to some Arsenal fans, we'd sell him, which I find crackers. I'll take the money. I think, but why would you want to sell one of your better players who's actually shown a level of consistency in a very poor Arsenal side? That to me logically doesn't make any sense. Yes, you can talk about money in the bank, but you've got to get.
It doesn't mean anything if you don't spend it wisely, does it? So
that's the problem. So I mean, listen, with ESR and Saka generally, both of them. Listen, as much as I have respect for them and love them, listen, I'll come back Saka to the end of the hills being Nigerian origin, but I'm not going to be blind loyalty. His finishing needs to be better. Yes, I get it. He's only 20, but it needs to be better. It does. Goals and assists for both of them. I think they're both quite similar this season in terms of appearances. Goals and assists is literally identical. But it needs to be better to alleviate that pressure from the rest of the team. But in regards to ESR, it's funny. A lot of Arsenal fans.
Saka from last year. Go on, carry on.
Yeah. With ESR. I think with the whole sort of when Erdegaard came last season, I thought he did okay. I know some Arsenal fans were kind of losing it in terms of why we're buying him, but I didn't have an issue with us bringing him on board. But you know what? I'm glad that Arteta's actually fitted both of them in the team because they're not the same type of player. Yes, they're both creative players, but they're very different. So for me, it's only a plus. But you guys would have seen it before, even going back to last season, definitely this season. Because of the experienced players we have not been cutting it for a long time, even more emphasis goes on to the two young boys that have been performing well. Yes, it's a problem because it shouldn't be on their shoulders to be carrying this team with the experienced players we've got. You can question how good you think some of these experienced players are, but they should be performing a lot better than having to rely on the likes of Saka and ESR. Because let's be honest, if they don't perform, we're in trouble. And you've seen that by our goal difference this season. We're the worst in the top 15 for goal difference.
So then are we putting too much pressure on them to perform? Knowing we as a fan base, we know that, let's just say one or the other does get injured. Are we then putting too much pressure on those guys to be, to be fit, to perform week in, week out because of the lack of quality then in our squad?
Yeah, you know what? That pressure, I think football's changed in the sense of for a number of years where, the social media aspect comes into it, where the landscape is where the pressure is going to be on them even more so. Even if you just look at the Euros, for example, the minute someone doesn't perform, they're a flop. It's not easy to go and perform at the highest level in a major tournament. It's not easy. If it's that easy, I'll be playing every week. You know what I mean? But I think that's the problem. It's the expectation's always going to be there, which is not really, I don't think it's the problem, but it's about managing that expectation. And yeah, there are going to be games where there's going to be dips in form. They're not going to play well every week. What I find interesting with Saka before I finish is that when in Arteta's first season, there was a period of time where he took him out of the team. And a lot of Arsenal fans were scratching his head towards the back end of the FA Cup winning season. And then it's gone the other way where he's played him in a lot of games.
Yeah.
And you think, well, Arteta, surely you've got to manage that a bit better. Yes, he's important, but you know, again, this comes back to relying on your experienced guys to be bailing the team out more than relying on Saka and ESR. But yeah, the talk of selling Saka, that needs to stop amongst some of the Arsenal
absolutely
fans.
No.
I don't know where that comes from. I really don't.
Anyone who comes with that, that's absolutely nuts. I mean, I don't know. A question on both their ceilings, really, in terms of how far can they actually go. I mean, to me, if they're doing what they're doing at this age, there is two aspects of football. Obviously, you have your technical ability, and then also then there's that mentality, that mental, awareness, how you actually deal with the game. The likes of your Tony Adams had it, from a very young age, and you know what, these guys are displaying that mental toughness that needs to go with a Premier League season. Lex, what's happening, bro? I know it's been a while, but listen, funny thing was Lex said to me, I get the little demo, little advert we sent out with a whole load of players that had past and present youth team players. He said to me, I didn't know Cole used to play Arsenal. I remember Cole was actually season. I'm old. But look, you can be forgiven for that, because obviously Andy Cole went on to kind of be huge. But hey, that was George Graham. That was one that he missed. So these guys, ESR and Saka. I mean, how are you feeling about these guys? I mean, for you, are they kind of displaying? Should they be playing as much as they are? And should we as a fan base, again, be bigging them up as much as we should? I mean, listen, I actually think these two guys are superb, and I would just shout it from the rooftops for me, because I just think their ceiling of ability is just is so high. I'm not sure. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, I mean, first off, I want to say, obviously I rate both of them players highly. But if we just rewind it a little bit, if you look at especially the last 18 months, looking at how Arsenal have been playing, and as an Arsenal fan, watching these players come in, it's like a fresher breath of air. And so when you talk about expectations and pressure and everything, if they've come in, they stepped up at a time where we needed someone to step up, because you're talking about senior players, and the senior players haven't really stepped up at particular times when you need them to step up. And if you talk about Saka, for example, I think what some people forget is that it's not only that he's playing out on the right, he's played left back, left wing, right wing, right midfield. He's played in so many different positions, and yet his consistency hasn't dropped, remained at the same level. So as an Arsenal fan, of course, you're gonna be looking at and thinking, expectations are always going to be at that level, because it's almost kind of like become accustomed to it. And then Smith was coming, he's dynamic, and I feel like when them two players play, it's almost like they're playing at the park. Look at, they've got a smile on their face and everything, and like it just gives you like something good, to think about the future. The future of Arsenal, especially as we're going through a transition. We're trying to get, we got rid of certain players that no longer fit as Arteta's plans, and you've got these young players now that have come through the academy, and it's someone to look up to. And I feel maybe the senior players might look at it and say, you know what, actually, we need to step up as well. But going back to, you know, expectations and the pressure, I think the difference between those players and like the Greenwoods, the Fodens, etc., is that, you know, if they're not playing well, you got the De Bruyne, the Silvers stepping up. You know, they got someone to lean onto. Or, you know, at Man United, you got Ronaldo.
They're allowed to have that bad game.
Exactly, they're allowed to have
go
that
under the radar.
Yeah, they're allowed to go under the radar and everything. And I feel with, you know, with Saka and ESR, it's almost like you don't really get that little bit of leeway.
Yeah.
But I mean, boy, they've literally, you know, they've taken their chance. You know, the chance has been given to them, and they've taken it.
They've grabbed it.
They've grabbed it, and you know, you're talking about, you know, how far they can go. I mean, the ceiling is very high. I mean, Saka's just got nominated. I forgot what that trophy's called, but you know, for the top 10 young players. You know that. So I think people are recognizing, because I think it was it Albert that was mentioned that, you know, other rival fans, they won't really, you know, they won't be talking about these players. They'll be talking about the likes of the Fodens, the Grealish, you know, and be saying the Greenwoods and all of that, and saying, you know, that's the future. But which in some ways may have benefited these players, because, you know, you got the Arsenal fans talking, but you know, they can continue on, you know, because they're not in the spotlight as much as these other players.
I'd temper that. I mean, like, obviously Saka, you can't get any more in the spotlight than Saka's been over the last summer. Do you know what I mean? I mean, with the summer that he had and everything, I mean, he was on every internet page, everything, social media, and the news and that, newspaper and everything. Guys, I just want to, from DWTT here, he says, still wish Saka and ESR didn't have to play so much. I think we all kind of agree with that. I want top Saka and ESR to be still here at Arsenal. I fear they will leave. They will leave. I mean, the only fear I have is if we don't consistently start challenging for the league, where these players will leave. But other than that, because they've grown up, there's just a certain thing I believe, in a way, when you come through the ranks, there's a certain affinity that you have with the club. I'm not sure what any of you guys want to comment on that at all.
Go on, G.
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
And you know, my heart agrees that, you know, Saka and Smith Rowe will definitely be part of the mold of Arsenal players that, you know, will resist the temptation of, you know, first and foremost, hopefully in a couple of years we'll be challenging for major trophies, and by that I mean Premier League and back in the Champions League. But while my heart says they would be content for us not to be doing that, just because they're wearing, you know, the red of Arsenal, my head tells me money talks. And a lot of players, regardless of, you know, you just have to look at the Grealish situation at Villa. You know, it's like, yes, you can give a club a certain amount of years in terms of loyalty, but they still want to be successful. They still have certain ambitions. And my fear is that, you know, I don't think we're in danger of that anytime soon. And by that, I mean the next 2-3 seasons or so. But I feel as though if these guys are still developing the way they're developing, you know, and by the time they start to hit the mid-20s, if we're not in a position where we're challenging for major trophies, I feel we would be in danger of losing them, because money talks. And you know what, these guys, if they continue on the trajectory they're going, big European clubs and British clubs are going to come in for them, you know, with extraordinarily amounts of money, but also will be coming in, tapping them up, and honestly being, giving them, certain assurances in terms of challenging for major silverware. So my heart says they will stay loyal to Arsenal regardless of our situation, but my head tells me a different thing.
No, I completely. I think the days of Tony Adams saying it doesn't matter where, how much it is, just show me where to sign. Those days are gone. I mean, I guess it started in 2006, and it with Ashley Cole going to Chelsea and everything. Money talks, I guess. With this next one, if it signs Saka and Isak, keep up. Could you?
You see with Saka, he's got, I think, after come June next year, he's got 2 years left.
Wow.
So it's gonna come. It's gonna come around quick. ESR's got a little bit more time. I think it's June 2026. But Saka's, listen, it's June next year, and he's within the last 2 years.
I think we should look to start we should look to think of extending that.
100%
midway through this season, or towards the end of it if he has a good season. We shouldn't let that go down to the last 2 years.
Definitely not.
Absolutely not.
It is Arsenal, though. Remember, we love to run our contracts down, don't we?
But I think this is what I've been impressed with Garlic coming in, because I think there was a number of youngsters in the summer, on top of signing good young players, Tierney's extension. I think
Martinelli.
There's a few youth players, isn't there? Like Kiddo Hart, Okonkwo, the goalkeeper, Kyle Keane, or whatever his name is, the Estonian fella.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's the thing. I think we've got a good batch of kids coming through. Whether or not they make it, I mean, the step up from under 23s to actual Premiership level football is huge. And sometimes a player who you don't think is going to actually make that step up, who is forced to actually kind of step into, actually makes it. And conversely, someone, I mean, we've got the likes of Patino coming through again. There's been a lot of noise about this kid right now. And this is just a case in point, basically. Everyone was screaming for him to play in the last game against Wimbledon in the EFL Cup. And because he didn't play, it was just a case of, what's he doing? But one thing I would say is that I think, I'm not sure about you guys, but the 2 cup competitions for us are bloody important. We have to win one of them, I believe, to have that kind of safety net. We need Europe, is my thing. If we don't make it through the league, well, I can't even think about that. But let's carry on. I swear, I don't.
Listen. I would love to listen. Where I think we're most of us are old enough to remember our last League Cup wins. A lot. Some people weren't even alive. Some of our fan base.
Wait a second.
What year was it?
93.
93, yes.
Casey and Wright, he was still there playing.
Bloody hell, yeah.
We only got 2 of those to our name as well.
I was like 9 or something.
Yeah.
Oh man, I feel old.
Remember, I was in primary school, bro.
I was still in nappies.
Yeah.
All right.
Canis don't want to play this game.
I don't mind being the old man on tonight's show. It's cool.
No, I'm the old man. That's the worst cry, because I actually remember, because that is the season when we won both the FA and the League Cup. And I remember going to the FA Cup replay.
Yeah. That's the problem. That's the thing. That's the problem. Like with a lot of our fan base, in terms of like the younger generation, late teens to early 20s. Like, I mean, I'm lucky enough to remember us winning the European trophy. A lot of our fan base have never seen that, and they're not going to see it for a number of years. So it's tough, man. Like I just say to younger teens, hang in there, man. Like you just hang in there, innit? Like don't change the other club. Just hang in there. It's gonna be tough, but just hang in there, man.
No, absolutely, 100%. Is one thing for Mr. Silver Fox. I know he's brought in, but what about William Saliba? His contract is wearing thin. Big things were said about this guy. He's now starting, I think, to cut his cloth now with Marseille. I think this is probably a standout season for him, I guess. But is it someone that we bring back and see, and believe the hype with this kid? Or I don't know. It seems like maybe the same thing as Arteta's having Guendouzi. That there might be an issue there in terms of mentality and him actually just knuckling down and playing. Any thoughts on Saliba at all?
I think it's a good thing that he comes back to the club next season, personally. Mentality aside a second, just generally throughout the squad, let's say we do qualify for Europe next season, we're going to need a bigger squad. And by no means am I saying that we're a Manchester City of that quality, but the best teams that challenge are teams that have got quality, but quality in depth. Now, if you look at the two centre-backs that have played most of the games this season for Arsenal, if one of them gets a long-term injury and you've got a Pablo Mari who comes in or a Rob Holding, no disrespect to either of them, they're good squad players, but long-term, do you see either of them having a future at Arsenal? And someone like Saliba coming into that mix is only a good thing. Creating competition in training as well and other players being pushed because of that is huge. Look at John Stones. He hasn't played a game for City this season. He scored for England the other night. They've got 3 top-class centre-backs playing at Man City, constantly pushing each other. We need that not only at centre-back, but personally throughout the team. So Saliba coming back for me is a good thing. Extend his contract, give him a season at Arsenal and see what he can offer.
I think as well, he offers, in throughout his career, he's played in different positions as well across the back line. I think he's even played in midfield.
He fits the criteria of player, right?
I just think with Saliba, like a lot of our fans as well, like sort of speak a lot about agendas, being there with Martinelli and Saliba. Saliba's never played a full professional season. That's what we need to remember. Yeah, so I think a lot is being made about a relationship breakdown with Arteta that isn't really there. I just personally think Arteta has looked at it objectively and has been like, if he's not going to play every game for 90 minutes at this stage in his career, because we can't forget he's only 20 years old.
Yeah,
the centre back especially, you need to be somewhere where you are playing that amount of minutes to get your XP up. To really understand your role, your responsibilities, your duties. To kind of get those mistakes out of your system in order to come of age. And look, a lot was made about why didn't he go to a Premier League club? And I've already given the breakdown. I think there was only 5 players last season under the age of 19 that played more than 500 minutes. Was it? No, it was 10. Yeah, it was 10 players. And then 1,000 minutes, it went down by half to 5.
He would have been
went into a Premier League club and he does what, say, Minamino did at Southampton.
Yeah.
What impact does that have on his development? Not much, so the move was right for him. And I've seen reports this week of him speaking about it in the same way himself, personally. Now, whether he's just saying the right things to the media for the sake of it, I don't know. But I personally just take it at face value. The guy needs to be playing 90 minutes every game. He's got an opportunity to play in Europe with them as well, because they're in Europe, which gives him access to more games at a higher kind of a higher quality.
It's just a different experience playing European football, right?
Exactly, yeah. These can only be good things for him. And I think a lot of our fan base that are Saliba stans, as I'll put it, that are like, or Martinelli stans, that are like, oh my God, Arteta has this agenda against them. I keep saying it about Martinelli as well. The guy had a cruciate ligament injury before he was even 20. Do we not remember what that did to Jack Wilshere?
Yeah.
When we're demanding that he plays every single game, it's like, hang about a minute. Like, I would rather we showed that we learned something, that we weren't just throwing him back into the frying pan, so that come 29, he's being released by Bournemouth when he's still.
That is crazy.
Also, I think there's some other external factors. I think because didn't he, when he first joined, I think his mum passed.
Yeah.
So I mean, as a
Yeah,
young
then COVID.
player coming from your home country to a new country, I don't know, you may have to learn the language or whatever. And then to hear that your mum's passed away, where you got all your family and friends back in France,
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's a big
Which
thing.
you can go back to the lockdown as well.
Exactly. You got the lockdown. He's come to a club that's of higher stature. There's a little bit more expectation. So mentally, he's probably struggled a little bit. I think that's probably what influenced the fact that he's gone back to France twice instead of staying in England.
Yeah.
Because I know obviously a lot of talks is like, well, why don't you go to a championship side even or whatever, just to build up that experience playing in England. But I think Arsenal has probably tried to do the best that they can to support him off the pitch, while also on the pitch as well at the same time. So I think there's multiple factors, but going forward, if he comes into next season comes into the team, if Arteta wants to play with a back five, I can see Gabriel, Ben White, and Saliba. And I can see that being that defense
sounds solid.
Serious, yeah. For the next,
I don't think the only thing is though.
Years.
Yeah, I that sounds so solid. But my thing is, I think really and truly, Arteta wants to play with a 4, with like a 4-3-3 as such. I think Arteta really wants to kind of play that. Only exceptional circumstances, I feel that he'll play with a back 3. On Monday, it's our resident here. FTB is United supporter, and I guess big panel. Respect to you, bro. Saka defo a proper player. Doesn't think ESR will be as huge. Interesting. Too many talented ballers coming through. There are a lot of players coming through now. They just seem to be getting younger and younger. That's just not at just also at Arsenal. Obviously, United got a few. Liverpool got a few. Also, Gems, he's from COP. So we're attracting all kinds of support. All teams here. She's Liverpool. And Arsenal need to not hype up the young players so much. Keep them grounded and pressure off.
She's right.
That's 100%.
To a degree.
And sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, you know what it is though. I think it's easy to say. Like I completely agree with some of those comments. More so the latter in terms of like taking the pressure off and not hyping them up. But at the same time, it's difficult for them to not get the attention and the hype that they're receiving when they're putting in the performances that they're putting in. That's the thing.
Ahead of the experienced players.
Yeah, when you're putting in man of the match performances in the North London derby, when you're forcing your way into the England side and being more or less the star man at the Euros, it's hard for them to not actually be getting the credit or the hype that's actually coming their way. I do agree though, we need to be measured. We need to manage our expectations. At the same time, come on, for me, particularly Saka. I know Gunner King, your personal favorite is ESR, but for me,
like Saka still
for some of the stuff, I remember sitting down and watching the Euros, with my family, and we watched all the games, and I was just in awe of this kid, because I remember what I was doing when I was 20. You know what I mean? And I was thinking like, this guy is playing on the biggest stage of world football and just literally putting in performance after performance.
This
and
is
the
consistency.
guy's 12
Scary.
years old. You know what I mean? Like if you look at him, he looks 12.
Yeah,
like he's got such a baby face. But so I do agree, like we can't overhype them, but at the same time, it's difficult to not get excited when you see what they're putting in terms of consistent performances.
Do you know what else I find difficult though? Just very quickly, sorry, Canners, and like obviously, I generate content on other platforms as well, like TikTok in particular. Maybe it's the younger demographic there, but I could make a video after Saka's put in a good performance or ESR's put in a good performance, and I could not mention a single rival player team's youngster. Not one. No Greenwood, no Jones, no Mount, no Foden. And straight away it will just be like, oh, this guy's clear of that, like all of this. And it's like, I think where we struggle, or where I struggle, is that's where I feel I have to get my back up a bit. Because it's like, hang on a minute. All I'm doing is, as a fan, I'm heralding the brilliant performances of one of my young players, and all of a sudden, Man United fans are trying to make it a Greenwood Saka conversation. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's like, like when you lot are bigging up Greenwood, I join in with you. I'm like, listen, the guy's going to be a world-class striker, like no doubt about it. You know, like I give him his flowers because it's like Albert said. I've got no problem if someone plays for a rival team. I've got no problem if they're good.
Yeah,
Kane's a good player. Kane's a good player. I got no problem doing that because, yeah, I'm an Arsenal fan, but I'm also a purist. There's got to be a purist side to like how you are a fan. You know, like if a guy's a good player, he's a good player. But it seems like because Arsenal are at what might be considered the weakest or close to the weakest, you know, out of the top teams, it just seems like people think that we're prey. Like the moment we find something to celebrate, some success to celebrate, they want to pull the rug from under our carpet and just be like, well, your youngster's not as good as our one.
Yeah, Gunner King, you make a good point because even with quickly talking about sort of going off subject with Tomiyasu, right? I call him Toma flipping Yasu. That's what I call him. It's like even I see some YouTube channel talking about but you know Cucurella gave him I said, but look at it logically, right? It's the Premier League. It's supposed to be hard. There's times when you're going to get taught a new one.
Of course.
When he had his 60 minutes against Norwich, it's only Norwich. I was like, cool. I thought, you know what, he's playing up against Dwight McNeil the following week. You know, a good player. Dealt with him. Dealt with Son the following week. So, like, just, you know, we're not silly. Like, these guys are going to get tested, man. He's new to the league. He's done very, very well. He's actually the type of right back who, me personally, as an Arsenal fan, have been crying out for years. But, yeah, there's going to be times these guys are going to get tore a new one, man. It's the Premier League. It's supposed to be hard.
It's supposed to be
supposed to be easy. Exactly. So people need to sort of relax a little bit, man.
That's I guess that's one of the things that I guess going on to keeping on the theme of, you know, Saka and Smith Rowe is that domestically they've come up against every test, you know, in every different style of team that they can play against. They played against, you know, okay, they've been given a chastening by running around against the Man Cities, and then they've come against Burnley, where it's that physical kind of game where they've had to get used to that. The same thing, I guess, will happen with Tomiyasu is that he'll soon learn the different styles of the teams, of the 19 other teams in the Premiership, and also maybe domestically in the domestic cups. But oh my gosh, the actual comments are just like flying in. I'm really bad with this. So they're just flying in. Oh, this one actually made me chuckle. Sorry, guys. Monday can't play football anyway, so even if we did, it's all right, man. It'll be like 4 against 5, and Monday can't play football. So we'll scratch that. James.
James Sabio.
Yeah.
Show my age now.
Yeah, that's gonna say for us olders, remember that flipping it. That was the day before FIFA and PES and all that flipping heck. Saliba is a left centre back. Having quality is very important. We must get Europe to ensure we have enough games to play all three a lot. That's the thing with this season, and I think it's a gift and a curse this season in the sense that we are able, I feel, to field as much as possible, injury permitting, our strongest 11. That I think the last couple of games we've probably played our strongest 11 that we could probably all think of. The back five pretty much picks itself, and then thereon everybody can have their kind of, you know, say about who should partner party, or is it Saka or Pepper? Well, actually Saka on the right, isn't it, all day? And then, you know, your Odegaard, ESR, you know, Alba and Lacazette. If we have Europe, everybody be switching around, and I think we've all kind of said as well, sometimes this is a good season because certain players like Lacazette will be playing. If they say to themselves, okay, fair enough, I'm not playing on a Saturday, but I'm going to play on a Thursday. It's cool, you know, and they can get into that kind of relaxed mode. And the same thing with the younger players as well. They might just say to themselves, well, conversely, I guess they might say, oh my God, when am I going to get a game? So they might be coming up to the gaffer and around January and say, look, can I get a loan? So it's going to be interesting January, because I'm sure that players like Nate Maitland-Niles, again, is another one. Big things will thought about him. He might now actually scream to go out on loan if he's not playing. He's only getting, 5-10 minutes a game, if that. Mr. Silver Fox, on Monday, they would finish you, especially with me. And I think, Jake, I think that was a point you made earlier on. I can't remember exactly what. But
I think it was when we were talking about Saliba.
That's right. Sorry. Yes. 100%. So, nice being evening, guys. Evening, Nico Bean and Gems again. DWTT. You don't have to have the luxury to play them sparingly. I think this is talking about ESR and Saka, like Pep did Foden. But it's definitely something that should be in Arteta's mind. Saka is a star for sure. 100%.
Can I make a quick comment on that as well?
Sure.
I think this is where the board come in as well, because Gemma's made a great point there. I was thinking it earlier and it left my head. Right?
Yep.
You look at your Liverpools who have, I think Jones and Harvey Elliott. I really enjoy watching those two. Like, I really hope Harvey Elliott obviously recovers really soon.
Yeah.
But you look at the midfield. They're in and around. They've got the Hendersons there. They had the Wijnaldum. He's just left. And obviously they've got Fabinho. They've got players that can help them. Both in terms of quality and experience. Foden. It's the same as City. With De Bruyne, Gundogan, Rodri, Fernandinho, all being there to kind of insulate them and aid their development. I think now the time has come. I think with the window that we just had, signing the youngsters to make sure that all the gaps were covered, rather than going for a Maddison in one position and leaving one or two light. I think we've given ourselves that solid kind of base now, and we've got that good crop of youngsters. If we can go in January, like not wait until the summer, if we can go and do something in January, I always look back to when United signed Bruno Fernandes in that January. I think of 2019 or 20.
I believe so. Yeah.
They were in the mud before he came in, and then he came in and he propelled them to third place, and they've not looked back since, and I think they had a similar story. Okay, they had more world-class players, in their team at the time, but I think if we could just help them out in January, just go out and just get a.
It's funny you should say that. There seems to be like a separate
not
thing
just
in the comments.
Not just for like marquee sake. I mean, like for them as well, for their confidence, for their self-belief,
100%.
to be like, all right, it's not just on us anymore, and we're not going to have to wait until the summer, by which time it could be too late, and the worst could have happened, and we could have not qualified for Europe and not won a domestic trophy.
No, I agree with you.
And then to go again in summer with that same mindset, I think this is where they've got to do their job now. And I think they weren't given the credit perhaps they should have been given. Like for the business they did do in the summer. Every single one of us here probably was concerned, wrote it off, and
didn't write it off. I think I was underwhelmed. I think
underwhelmed. I think it's a better.
I did think they were decent players. But I think, I was underwhelmed is probably my word that I would use for the transfer market. But I'm holding my hands up right now because at the moment, they're doing, all of his signings are playing. Actually,
I think the mentality of old with Arsenal would have been like, right, we've done good now, so we can just leave it. Like that's it. It's the job's done. I think if we could go again in January and make that sort of signing, I'm not talking about it costing whatever, because Bruno cost 45-50 million, which in this day and age is the price of a good quality player. Look, I mean, Tommy Arce barely cost 20. The price can be the price for a good player, but can we go and do some things in January to really kind of just lighten the load on them a bit? Both in terms of their playing time and the expectations and the responsibility and the burden on their shoulders. I'd love to see that. I'd love to see that.
I think a decision. I think a decision is going to have to be made at some point with regards to Pepe. You know, in all honesty.
Do you know what? I hear you, G. And the thing is, I love the guy, and I love seeing some of the stuff that he does in isolation. But it's too far and few between.
You know what? I've supported him like literally from the start. When I'm not going to sit here and be a hypocrite and say that, you know, he's not lived up to expectations and we shouldn't have signed him. I was absolutely thrilled when we signed Pepe. I'd watched him in the French league playing for Lille, and I thought he was going to be absolutely phenomenal in the Arsenal shirt. And for me, I feel like I've stayed patient to a certain extent, and I really thought like at the back end of last season, I thought that was it.
Yeah,
I thought like, you know, he'd really found his feet, and in many ways, I didn't want the season to end for him because he was in such a rich vein of form. But he started this season, and he's kind of I don't know what it is, but it's not happening. And you know, can you really afford to have a £72 million sub? It's like he's not for me. He's not pulling his weight, like, and that's not me trashing him or whatever. I know Saka's making his job even more harder because he's playing so well. But for me, like, you're more experienced. You've come in obviously with a massive price tag. You clearly are a quality player, you know, in glimpses. So it's for him now to look at Saka and say, listen, hey boy, you know what I mean? I'm the big man. You know, I'm gonna get my first. I'm gonna get my first. I'm gonna be in the you know, on the right hand side. So it's really for him to up his game and actually bring something more to the table. Because if he starts playing consistently well when he gets his opportunity, then he gives Arteta a massive selection headache, which is what we want. But right now, he's making Arteta's job easy by putting Saka on the right.
And I guess he's. Sorry,
I was going to say, I think he's another one that's got maybe, I think, a couple of years left on his contract. So Arsenal need to make a decision quick.
Big. You've got some big contracts up and coming for renewal, and we're gonna have to make a decision quick on, you know, on those kind of players. I mean, do we cash in on Pepe? The thing is, I remember seeing him at the start. I mean, I think we played Liverpool his first season, and I think he kind of like, you know, he did you know, a few good things and everything else. Oh my gosh, we've got such a great player, but he's just not been consistent enough. And as much as I'd love to see him perform in the red and white, I'm not sure if it's going to be his place for him, really. It's sad, but the thing is, though, it's competition. Let's hope then his mindset is like, as you say, I want my position back, and that adds an aid, you know, the competition. And also then, if he does come in for Saka and gives Saka a breather, there's not a drop in quality in what we do, you know, into the actual 11. So I mean, could we keep him as a squad player? I don't know. As you say, it's a very expensive bench player. King, with what you were saying and what you was talking about, there was a there's obviously a discussion going on in the comments section. So obviously DWTTA. One reason Arsenal needed depth in their attacking roles, future of their stars dependent, and that again could fall onto, you know, the likes of Pepe performing, Martinelli as well coming in and making it seamless for the guys like ESR and Saka to kind of have those breaks. Nico Bean, spirally isn't exactly a luxury right now, but I totally get your point. Can't use players like they're mules. It's not healthy. That all comes down to, I guess, what you're saying is hopefully in January we make the right decisions in terms of transfers. Will we get anyone? I don't know, man. What kind of criteria player are we looking for, and who is going to be available in January? Because it's quite notorious. From James, ESR will be a better player than Mount. That's boy.
What I mean, I don't, you know, I think it goes both ways with what I was saying earlier. You know, like when I mentioned Saka and then a rival player mentions their one. I think we need to do the same thing. You know, like we need to herald our players and just not put any rival players in our mouths when we're doing it. Like, because, you know, this isn't a slight on James or anyone. It's not anything personal. Yeah. I just think that invites that blowback, which does feed into the pressure that these players feel like they've all got social media. Like they are kids that were born in the age of the internet. You know, like you see them. You know, like in changing rooms. You know, like they've got their phones there. You see that they've got millions of followers on Instagram and this platform and that platform. They see this stuff, man, and it's just like, I just think we just need to just sit and just see what happens, because if they carry on doing what they're doing, we know they're going to the top. Whether that's better than Mount, whether it's worse than Mount, you know, like it will be at a top level, you know, like. But yeah, I don't know.
No. It's a difficult one. I mean, guys, I'm going to start to kind of wrap this up. Just going to run through a couple of comments, but okay, Jem saying when I said hyping up young players, I more meant the ones who are coming up, not necessarily Saka. I think Patino, this is that lad is getting overhyped as well, just 17, which is, yeah, it's true. Saka has been 6 out of 10 this season since January, and only been performing well for England recently most of the time. Martinelli would be on his level. Any actually thoughts on Martinelli? Because he's another really kind of divides a lot of opinions amongst Arsenal fan base, in the sense that should he be playing, should he not be, be playing, given time, etc. I would expect if he's to stay with us long term, he might be a number 9. I don't know if you guys think otherwise. I mean, Martinelli is obviously someone who, I feel given more game time could do a job, but at the moment, such as the performances of ESR, he's not getting a start, and obviously Aubameyang, the captain's not going to get dropped.
Yeah,
go on, mate.
Sorry, yeah, I was going to say, I think it's a shame, obviously, because we don't have Europe, so where the likes of Martinelli could come in, give him more game time. Like I said, if he's not going to be starting on Saturday, then he can be able to come in, play on the Thursday, for example. But looking forward, going forward, if you look at, what he brings when he does come on as a sub, kind of compared to, I don't want to bash him, but Pepe, for example, when they come in, I think Martinelli is giving that a little bit more impact, more aggressiveness into, the attackers, attacking. And I think I don't know why Arteta is not playing them as much as some of I know especially some of the Arsenal fans would love to play him. There must be a reason behind it, but I think he's gonna be keeping knocking the door, and if we're not gonna not play him, then either you can put him on loan, or he's going to look for other opportunities. So Arteta's got a couple of decisions to make, because, like I said, it's kind of a make and break season for Pepe. And then, but also, you've got players like ESR and Saka playing so well, you can't drop him. And then you got Martinelli that's always willing to come in and give his all. So it's a lot of decisions that he's got to make. He's got to make some tough decisions, but
that's what he gets paid for. Yeah. I just see that. I just like, that piqued my interest. That did.
Yeah, that's a bit harsh.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's my thoughts on it anyway.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So, Albert, was you going to?
Yes. Cheers, man. No, just quickly on Pepe, very quickly. Man, I say this guy does split opinion, man. I mean, he scored the goals he scored last season. You got people complaining, but it's only in Europa League. I'm like, okay, so we just don't count the goals he scored then. Like, there's not many players that have got double figures for Arsenal that are not the attacking, the main strikers. So he is frustrating, of course he is, but I think part of the reason why he is because he's prepared to take risks, even as restricted as he is under Arteta's stewardship. But the Martinelli thing's interesting. Quickly, I know I take Chris's point about the injury last season, and I say the thing is, if he's fit enough to be on the bench at least, I remember the game last season. We played Villa away 0-0. None of the strikers were doing anything in that game at all. We're 1-0 down. You know, we still got a sub to make. He can't even bring him on for 10 minutes. Decisions like that baffle me. So we're in mid-October now. In a few months, it's going to be Christmas. When is he going to get his chance to play in a team that's not scoring a lot of goals? I don't really get it. I mean, he started against Brentford. Yes, no one played well that day, but the Martinelli one is interesting because a lot of Arsenal fans, he's a fan's favourite, a lot of Arsenal fans, but
100.
he's not getting the minutes for whatever reason that is. Is it, you know, how long are you going to keep turning around and say it's because he had the injury last season?
I mean, is he the type of player that we should actually look to loan out, maybe to a foreign team, maybe, I don't know, somewhere in Spain or France or Italy or something like that, to see, or do we?
I think if he's continuing not to get game time in January, then yeah, I think we should definitely do that.
Yeah. Well, guys, I can't even keep up with the comments, but I'm gonna have to wrap this up. The comments are just like flying, and look at all of these. Sheesh. Okay, DWTT is not having it, man. But yeah, we've got a couple of players there that totally divide opinion. Pepe and Martinelli being the prominent two. Ainsley Maitland-Niles as well. There's going to be a lot of disgruntled players really come January who will be probably pushing for a move. I mean, Maitland-Niles nearly went to Everton, right? But Arteta needs him, and he's only played he doesn't get more than 10-15 minutes a game. So if I was him, from a professional perspective, you got to look, start playing. If you ain't playing me, boss, let me go where I can get 90 minutes. Totally get that. Big Dogs is coming out with some pelters here, man. Saka at the moment, yet no Martinelli, and in the picture, what is the manager doing?
Arsenal fan. Big Dogs.
I'm thinking. Is he trying? But I mean, the thing is, this one here.
Saka wouldn't have gotten play. Wow.
Yeah, if he wasn't Hale end. I mean, to be fair, Pepe did throw up some numbers last year, but I think that, as you said,
21 goal involvement.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Nowhere near that.
Yeah, he takes a lot of brunt of the Arsenal fans, man.
He does.
He's been at the games by flipping out.
Poor guy, man. He seems to be getting killed. But guys, oh my god, I'm going to stop it there. I'm going to call time, and I just want to say, do you know what? The panel, you guys have been absolutely immense. I can't thank you guys enough. Just a quick round the table. G, where can we find you, bro? I mean, we've got descriptions, we've got everything in the descriptions, but just for the
it's a pleasure to be on the show, man. Just want to obviously thank yourself and
thank you
for inviting me. But yeah, you can find me on Twitter, GTalksArsenal, but you can also if you haven't already, you can find Cannon Chatter TV. So that's the account, or I don't even know, that's the what do you call it?
The channel, bro. The channel.
I'll cover this every time. I know what you mean. You know what it is, yeah? You know what it is? Boy, listen, I might be doing all this YouTube stuff, but really I'm an old man, do you know what I mean? So
yes, I'm there with you, man.
But yeah, you can follow me on Twitter, GTalksArsenal. But like I said, I do my Cannon Chatter thing with Stephen and Lottie, so feel free to follow us on Twitter, which is @Cannon Chatter, and also follow us on, or subscribe and like on YouTube, which is @Cannon Chatter TV. But yeah, that's it really, man. Just thanks for having me on the show. I really enjoyed it.
You've been blessed. No, it's been great to have you on. Jake, yourself, I mean, I've watched many of your streams and loads of your videos, sorry.
Thanks.
Where can we find you, man? Tell the audience where we can find you.
Yeah, well, like G said, thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure to share this evening with you guys and speak Arsenal. We could probably sit here and talk for another 2 hours about the Gunners. But yeah, you can find me over on Twitter @JakeClegg28. I post daily pure Arsenal content, and then it's all analytical, deep analysis, Arsenal content over on YouTube as well. Match reports, player analysis, weekly posts.
It's a shame Gumza wasn't on here, because you and Gumza would have been having your own conversation, man. Because Gumza, he's our technical analyst as well, man. He breaks games down to the T, just like yourself. So it would have been great. Shame he wasn't here, but hey, maybe another time we'll set it up.
Maybe next time.
Yeah, for sure. Albert, blessed to have you today, brother. It's been good, man.
Yeah,
Where can we find you?
First time on. Thanks for having me on, man. First time on, man. Debut on another channel. Happy days, man. But yeah, AlbertJTV. Yeah, I'll do my normal match previews reviews, but I've got a couple of shows on my channel that a bit different from the norm, because I like to be original with my content. So another show coming up Friday. It'll be out soon.
Okay. We have to keep us informed.
Life stories back again. Yeah.
we'll smash that via Twitter as well. We'll do all the retweets. You get us, we'll just retweet it. And Lex, GunnersLecks, we can find you on Twitter. Is that right, Lex?
Yeah, so fun fact, I literally just set up Twitter like a couple of hours before I joined the stream. So give your brother a follow, man.
How can we find you, bro?
Excellent.
Yeah, find me on Twitter, Gunners_Lecks. But yeah, thanks for having me, man. It was a good chat today.
No,
yeah, looking forward to be on more.
Absolutely, 100. And King, no, you're a resident for us here, but come on, man, tell us, where can we find you, man?
Yeah, Gunner King on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and yeah, obviously here on the Armoury, as part of the furniture on the YouTube channels. So yeah, I mean, I think I'm starting to think about Twitch now as well. We need to speak about that as well. So yeah, watch this space with that as well. Yeah. So but at the moment, that's where I can be found.
Love that. Oh my God. As you said, Jake, we could go on for hours. Guys, it's been blessed and it's been a great evening. Thank you all so much. So Saka and Smith Rowe. Yeah, it's been decided, it's been debated. They're ready for Super-Stardom. We out.